Hello YouTubers, this is vi3t here with you to talk about the YCSs that have happened in this format. So the main YCSs that I'm referring to is YCS Long Beach, YCS Dallas, and YCS Toulouse in France. First off, I'm going to start off with the top 4 deck lists from Long Beach. The first deck list is the Hero Drain from Joji Orlando. He's actually a New England Yu-Gi-Oh player who I've seen top quite a few regionals, and he's on a roll right now with topping many of the YCSs. His deck is actually a very good build in my opinion. It runs no hand traps because heroes don't need hand traps. It sides super polys, which is a great idea because the Inzektor matchup is very strong. So here's the deck list. Feel free to net deck it, do whatever. That's part of the point of this video, is to give you guys the top deck lists from the last 3 YCSs and help you prepare, especially if you want to try and make a meta call and do your best to top. So I hope this information is helpful. Number 3 from YCS Long Beach was Piper Chaos. I think the Weisels are a great idea. It's actually very good this format because of Dark Hole and Torrential Tribute. On top of that, there's multiple destruction cards that people side in, such as Snowman Eater, although you can't activate Weisel's effect during the damage step. But you could activate it if they flip summon Snowman Eater or flip summon Raikou or use a Smashing Ground against you. And Smashing Ground is one of the top deck techs I feel against rabbits and windups and any decks that play big monsters. Overall, I think the Piper combo can be very inconsistent, but the idea behind it is to run a lot of hand traps. And the side deck is interesting. I think Lava Golem actually is a very great choice for a side deck, especially against Rabbit, if they get multiple Xyz summons out. And I don't believe they can use Dolka to negate Lava Golem. Deck number 2 from YCS Long Beach is Simon He with his Dino Rabbit deck. This Dino Rabbit deck to me isn't all that special. This will be the only Dino Rabbit deck I'll show you guys aside from the one that won YCS Dallas. In general, even Simon He himself said it, this deck is very general. There's not a lot of special tech in here, so take it as you see it. And if you want to run Dino Rabbit, this is actually one of the common builds for it. Deck number 1 that won YCS Long Beach, which I feel was quite the upset, and definitely I find Dark Worlds to be an extremely rogue deck, only because it hasn't won consistently and it hasn't topped consistently as Dino Rabbit or Windups or Inzektors has. But this one is amazing because I guess it's actually a Dark World turbo deck with skill drain, and it doesn't use the full extra deck because it doesn't need it. Grapha is the top monster here. So there's a reason why Dark Worlds didn't do so hot during YCS Dallas and YCS Toulouse, and that's because people realize that it is a contender deck and there has been a lot of hate put in the side against Dark Worlds. So moving on, we'll go straight into the less interesting YCS in my opinion, which was YCS Dallas. I only say it's less interesting because Rabbits won. I'm not a fan of Rabbit. I feel like it's too much of a not a sacky deck, but more or less I find Rabbit to be less skillful than other decks, only because you're not doing as much. You're really just playing the same combos over and over again. Arguably, a lot of people say that's the same thing with windups, but I really enjoy windups only because there's so many options and so many ways to mess up. It's not as autopilot as Rabbit is, in my opinion. Feel free to bring on the hate. You know, this is just my personal opinion. So in Dallas, Dragons topped. This was amazing in my opinion because the guy didn't even run tour guides, and he showed people that you don't need tour guides, you don't need to spend $150 on a playset of Fiends to win. You can actually play with a good meta call deck And this I find to be a good meta call. Why? Because at YCS Dallas and I believe YCS Toulouse, most likely, people were siding in against Dark Worlds and siding in against Rabbits and Inzectors. So big heavy hitter decks like Dragons came out of nowhere and really blew people off of their game. Expect to see a lot of Dragon decks at YCS Chicago. Expect to see it, and you need to put in that monster hate, that light and dark hate, and also watch out for Quackimiro Drago, because there will be dragon decks running that crazy stuff. Next up is Nazar and his winning rabbit deck. So I talked with one of my friends and he said Nazar most likely won because he main decked the 2 bottomlesses. Nazar is actually running a 41 card deck, a lot of hand traps, a good balance between light and dark monsters in order to get out the Blackluster Soldier, and he's just got a good suite of negation and stoppage against your opponent. And on top of that, his side deck is very well made. I think the green Kappa and the Kinetic Soldier are awesome just because they help solve problems against other rogue decks, and it also helps solve problems with skill drain and Dark Worlds. So overall, a very well built rabbit deck. The 41 cards is a little surprising, but honestly, running 40 cards helps you draw into cards. But if you're playing max C, then you should run that extra card if you feel like you can't drop anything. So from the look of this deck, he already dropped a Space Typhoon, and the double bottomless is amazing in the deck. So I think that's why he won with his rabbit deck, other than most likely getting really good draws. Honestly, at one point or another, a Dino Rabbit deck was gonna win a US YCS. Why? Because if you look at the 3 YCSs that I'm covering right now, the finals were a Dino Rabbit deck against a Rogue deck. Rogue deck. Why do I say Rogue deck? Because it's not one of those decks that you expected to do so well. Dark Worlds came out of nowhere, and I believe Dragonsworn came out of nowhere when people were expecting heroes to win. That is YCS Dallas and YCS Long Beach. Now we're going to cover the deck lists for YCS Toulouse. So if you check out this Inzector build, it actually has 41 cards. For some reason, 41 cards is a big thing with some of the top decks right now. But this Inzector deck is, in my opinion, pretty common. I think it's great that this person is also running 1 Torrential, Double Chain, and the hand traps. That's most likely why this deck did so well. It's interesting to see in the side the Dimensional Fissures and the Armor Blast. The Armor Blasts are a very interesting side in my opinion, and I think that is a great idea because Armor Blast helps you get rid of skill drain, helps you get rid of any face-up cards, spell or trap cards that are stopping your combos, or face-up monster cards that are stopping your combos. And especially since you're able to get back Inzectors with the Inzector Sword Zecalibur, and you can use Armor Blast with face-up Inzector cards. 1 face-up Inzector card. That means you can use it with equip cards that say Inzector on them. So Inzector Hornet, Inzector Hopper, Inzector Gigamantis. Whatever Inzector that is equipped actually helps you get a +1 with Armor Blast. So this is a great card to side deck. I would highly suggest that anyone playing Inzectors side deck 1 or 2 Armor Blasts for the skill drains and for the monsters that may be stopping special summons. Great side deck choice with Armor Blast. The number 3 deck from France was a wind-up deck. I love seeing wind-ups in the top. The only problem I have with the wind-up decks in the top is that they're all running some hand traps. They're all running the rabbits. It's not really based on the turbo loop. It's based on more control, and if you get the loop off first turn, great. If not, then I'm gonna try and control you with wind up rabbit and special summoning a lot. The interesting thing about this is I feel like the deck is just too common. I think that was probably what prevented this person from going all the way to the top, is the sided decrees and not choosing something else to side. Maybe Horn of the Phantom Beast probably would have been better sides in this deck especially. The number 2 deck for Toulouse was a rabbit deck. I took a quick look at it. I didn't see anything special that was worth talking about, only because it was a very general deck. General Dino Rabbit decks do well. As long as you have the 3 tour guides, the 3 rabbits, either lances or chalices, they'll do well as long as you're a good player with them and you can top well enough or autopilot well enough. The number 1 deck, however, in France was the Gross Dragons. This deck, in my opinion, is ridiculous. This is an awesome deck, so creative, so much hate against everything. The only thing about this deck is that I think it would get destroyed by skill drains. So that's the only thing that probably would have stopped this deck, and it seems like this guy had a lot of great luck and probably didn't play as many decks that had skill drain in them. Awesome deck, wicked creative. I love seeing stuff like this because it's so much fun. I find it interesting that he's running the tour guides, and I can understand why, because it does help you get back removed cards, especially any dragons you removed. I would suggest, in my opinion, playing maybe 1 Divine Dragon Apocryph, but that's just what I would suggest. So now I want to talk about what the top decks were at the last 3 YCSs. So Long Beach first. So the top decks, the top 16 I think are the most important ones. Skill Drain Heroes, Piper Chaos, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Chain Strike Burn, which is pretty crazy. That deck actually made top 8 before it finally went down. Dino Rabbit, Windups, Skill Drain Heroes, Dino Rabbit, Windup Beasts, Dark World, Windups, Dino Rabbit, Insectors. So this YCS Long Beach was dominated by Dino Rabbits. Only 1 Insector duelist made it to the top 16. So that's pretty crazy. Quite a few rogue decks up in here. Wilson Sang's Wind-Up Beasts I find to be admirable, and I plan to do a quick deck profile at the end of this video of his deck. YCS Dallas. The top 16 was Dino Rabbit, Miracle Gemini, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Insectors, Windups, Dino Rabbit, Insectors, Miracle Gemini, Insectors, Dragon Lightsworn, Windups, Insectors, Chain Strike Burn. If you'll notice, Chain Strike Burn is actually a viable strategy that can help you top. The only thing is, you got to be able to get through all those Dino Rabbits and Insectors or Windups. Insectors made a strong showing in YCS Dallas. Windups have weakened a little bit, and Dino Rabbits still a strong showing. Miracle Geminis are getting up there. The 1 lone Dragon Lightsworn deck that made top 2, which is pretty cool. And don't forget, Dino Rabbits won it all. It took a while for Dino Rabbits to win in USA YCS, but they did do it, and the deck has been topping a lot. YCS Toulouse. So YCS Toulouse, you see Bubble Beat, Wind Up, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Insectors, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Dino Rabbit, Windups in the top 8, Dark World in the top 8, Insectors in the top 8, Windup in the top 8. Top 4 was Insectors, Windups, Dino Rabbit, and the winner, the awesome Twilight Dragons. So great showing in Toulouse, very versatile. Windups made a very strong showing in Toulouse. And I'm telling you right now that the next deck to win YCS in YCS Chicago has got to be either Windup or Injectors. That's what I'm going to make for the meta call right now, only because so many decks are starting to side the maxis and not main deck them. That's a big thing right now. The reason that maxis are dropping in price is because they're being sided, and people are either that or people are cutting them out entirely because they're expecting not to see windups being played, and they feel like it's not a strong card against Injectors and Rabbits. So Maxi is not a strong card against Dino Rabbit, but I feel it still is a strong card against Injectors, and it's a strong card against a lot of rogue decks, especially Samurais. And one of my main tips for running Maxi is if you run Maxi, you should run a hand trap that'll stop attacks. A hand trap that'll stop attacks. Most popular ones are Tragodia or Gores, but in my opinion, one of the best ones would be either Battle Fader or Swift Scarecrow. Why? Only because they actually stop those attacks, can save you a turn. If you use Battle Fader, then you have an extra monster on the field that you can use either for a Synchro Summon or Tribute. So there's a lot of versatility there. Swift Scarecrow, it's an effect from the hand where you discard, so you don't have to worry about Solemn Warning. So definitely run Maxi with either one copy of Battle Fader or Swift Scarecrow, or run the full suite of Gores and Double Tragodia, only because that will really help you against some of these big decks that are gonna come through. Twilight Dragons, Dino Rabbits, and Injectors, they're gonna be there. I want to let you guys know a little bit about Wilson Zhang's deck. His wind-up deck that he ran at YCS Long Beach was pretty cool. And it's kind of funny that what his strategy around it was. And his strategy was basically to play a wind-up control variant, concentrating on the beasts, and switch it up into the wind-up loop, and hope for the best, which is very interesting. And I definitely really enjoyed checking out this deck list. So 41 cards, nothing wrong with that. He's playing the Photon Saber Tiger because they can search, and it's a beast monster that can also get really huge if you have 2 Photon Saber Tigers on the field. It's also a light monster, which enables you to play Blackluster Soldier in the deck more consistently with 4 hand traps, 2 Veilers, 2 Maxi. I'm surprised he only ran 1 8 fighter, and I think that's probably why his deck was more inconsistent. And I think it would have been great for him to maybe run 2 8 fighters and only 2 tour guides instead of just 1 8 fighter. Overall, the rest of the deck is typical, except for the double Horn of the Phantom Beast, which works really well with Wind-Up Rabbit. No one really expects it before. Now they're going to be think twice before they attack your Wind-Up Rabbit. Aside from that, his side deck, Mischief of the Yokai, is great against rabbits. It's also great against Injectors. The only thing is it doesn't destroy anything, which makes it tough, but it does slow them down and can help you get an advantage by helping you survive a turn without worrying about Dolka, Lagia, or your opponent exceeds summoning with their Injectors. Side deck is pretty common. Army Arm is a great card. I think this deck is a great idea. What I'm hoping to do with windups for my regionals this Sunday is to do my turbo version and go into a crazy side deck. I was thinking about doing windups and side decking into Rescue Rabbit, but I realized that is a horrible idea. However, it would be a lot of fun. The other thing that I'm planning to try out for a side deck is siding into injectors, because injectors work really well with the overall wind-up combo anyways. So, you know, it's a win-win, and it may be quite unexpected from some people, especially since injectors are just so awesomely broken in a wind-up deck, because a lot of people, when they play against a wind-up deck, they tend to set everything in order to prevent you from going after their hand, and that lets you attack everything else with your injectors. But I'm still playing around with that idea, and yep, this is the video. One last thing I want to talk about is YCS Chicago. What should you expect? You should expect to see a lot of heroes, dragons, and maybe a little bit of Dark Worlds. I don't expect too many people playing Dark Worlds compared to heroes, either skill drain heroes or fusion heroes and dragons, only because those decks put up the big beaters. And of course, there will be a lot of people playing Dino Rabbits as usual, because it's one of those top decks that work really well and are fairly consistent only because of what they are, and it's hard to side against. Windups, however, I feel is the new rogue deck. I'm telling you, if you're going to play windups, go for the turbo loop, side into something crazy, and you'll catch your opponent off guard, because not as many people are main decking those Max Cs, and Max C is the main thing that'll stop a windup deck. You can push through Veilers, you can push through DD Crow, but you can't stop Max C. This is my video. Thanks for watching, and I hope it was helpful. I'm going to do a video about my regionals experience after this Sunday, and I'm also still working on my wind-up misplay deck, because I fixed it up a little bit, and I will get back to you guys. I hope you're enjoying the videos. Feel free to give me any feedback. Thanks.